Hello, I'm Mark Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have the pleasure of Matt Helling, the founder of Arco Cyber, in the studio.
Hey, Matt.
How are we doing, Matt?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm brilliant, thank you.
Good. Thanks for coming in. Now, normally, Matt, when I get someone in the studio, I let them introduce their company.
Yep.
But I'd never heard of your company.
Yep.
I'd obviously heard of your career at Softcat, but I want to take us right back to the beginning, because normally when I have a guest in the studio, they don't have an interest in IT or business.
Yeah.
Yet you are one of the few people that actually did a degree in IT and business. So take me back to the start. What made you sort of start your career and think about a degree in IT and business?
Yeah, I wish it was for my love of IT and business. The reality is my brother was an IT consultant, a networking consultant specifically at the time. He's 8 years older than me. And I had this crazy idea, being my bigger brother, that he would help me. So I went to university to get a degree, and I'll tell you the reasons for that in a second. But I realised very quickly he wasn't going to help me. And actually, he found it quite funny that he thought I was going to go and ask him for a load of help and do my work for me. But that was just never the case. And actually, my reasoning for going to university was purely to get a degree because I wanted to go and be a Marine. So I had this whole thing in my whole life, going through schooling and everything else. I wanted to go and be a Royal Marine. That was kind of my aspiration. So to get on the possible officers course, you needed to do a degree. So I went to university. I picked a course that my brother could help me with. He didn't. I went to university. I got most of the way through my university career to find out that if I wanted to go in the Marines, I couldn't do active duty because I'm asthmatic, and that's on my medical records. I thought I was going to try and hide it. I was like, no, I'm not asthmatic. They're like, no, but we've got NHS records to say that you are, which means because of chemical warfare, all that sort of stuff, you can't have an asthmatic in active duty. So I was then in university with a brother that was unwilling to help me, and a degree I didn't really need or want because I couldn't go and do a career that I wanted to go and do.
So what did you do? What were you thinking after that?
Obviously I went and drowned my sorrows very quickly, but I got through my degree. I came out with a 2-2, which was a pass, which was the important bit. And then I just went travelling. So I went off travelling, went to New Zealand, went snowboarding, enjoyed myself, kind of spent every penny that I'd ever managed to amass, and a lot of my parents. And I got back and my mum said, what are you going to do? My immediate answer was, hey, I'm going to go travelling again. Her response was, no, I got you a job interview at this little company up in Cressex in Wickham called Softcat. So put your dad's suit on. I'm 5'9", not really. My dad's 6'1", so I had this long, ill-fitted suit, and I turned up at Softcat for a job interview in 2003.
And that was your first entry into sales, cyber, security?
Absolutely
sales.
anything. Yeah, first job, period.
And tell me about your career there, because for the listeners, you were there 19 years, which I said to you over lunch, you kind of institutionalised into a company then, really, and it's quite difficult. But tell me about those early days. So how did you actually get on in the first few years?
Yeah, so I went into Softcat for just a straight account management role, and I met my then boss, Richard Perez, who had just come out of sales to set up a security sales function within Softcat. So there was only a couple of us in there, and really our job at the time was to go into the Softcat account base and sell security. It sounds pretty obvious, but you've got to imagine back in 2003, the Softcat account base was very much SMB. You've got to understand that a lot of them weren't internet connected. Most of them had no comprehension of what cybersecurity was and what the risks were. So we were kind of out there peddling firewalling, a bit of email maybe, but email was more profanity than what it was spam and malicious activity. Web was more about productivity. So it didn't really start to pick up. It's just as the market started to evolve and you go through 2004, 2005, things start developing and compromises started coming up and risks started to increase. Businesses and one Softcat was serving started to really pick up. And then from there, it was just a matter of Richard moved out. I was the longest standing employee in security, so I took up a team leader function. And then I just stayed. And the business started to grow and Softcat started to really accelerate. The cybersecurity market started to really move forward and started to progress and evolve and develop. And I realised very quickly that it was actually a really, really interesting market because no 2 days were the same. You know, things were happening, threats were evolving, company impact was changing, businesses were growing and evolving, setting up offices. And then you had this kind of evolution of security over a period of time where just more things started coming along. Mobility was a problem, laptops are an issue, VDI was a problem, and it evolved and evolved. And then from my career perspective, the team just grew. I mean, it just continued to bolster and build out, and we had a process by which we would grow in line with the sales teams, never to the size of, but kind of in their wake, and we would be aligning sales specialists to the sales function. So my job just grew, and as we opened up new offices, we needed regional managers, and that team ended up being 85 people by the time I left and moved out of it.
Wow. And as an individual, you must have gone for a period of growth, because if you've gone there as a graduate, pretty inexperienced.
Yeah.
So running a team of 85, how did you actually change as an individual and how learn those new skills? Because you obviously weren't planning to go into management when you left university. That wasn't the case.
No, not at all. I mean, it was a combination of kind of getting my hand forced. You know, the business was moving at such a rate. I was kind of pushed and encouraged to do other things. And what I mean by that is how we projected ourselves into the company. So I had to do company meetings, how we spoke at kickoffs. So I had to do, you know, talks in front of large groups of people, going out to meet customers and understanding what their pain points were, ensuring we were putting the right technology sets around what customers were wanting, ensuring we were addressing and approaching customers in the right way. So I guess my token view on everything was, whenever the business asked me to do something, the answer was always yes, and I just had to go and figure it out, because I knew that if I ever took a step back and questioned it, I probably wouldn't do it. So I'd go, yeah, we'll do that. And then as the time got closer to go and do it, I'd have to figure out what we were going to do, and I had to try and work myself through that.
Was there a lot of fear doing that? Scared, you know, imposter syndrome? People talk about it a lot in the market, thinking, can I do this? Am I going to get up and speak in front of people?
Yeah, hugely. And you know what? It's something I've kind of been working through recently. So I've known for a long time that I'm dyslexic. You know, I've family lineage. We've got a long line of dyslexic people in our family. And, you know, that the dyslexia part of it helped me to really kind of understand and create vision around what we're going to execute against. And, you know, with the way my dyslexia works, and I always talk to people about kind of my old math exams when I was at school, I knew the answer, I didn't have the workings. You know, so a lot of my math exams, I would get low marks, but the answers were invariably, most of the time, correct. It's the same in my career. I kind of knew where we were going or where we needed to get to, and I just ensured that I surrounded myself with the right people that were going to figure out how we kind of get to that end point. So I was always good at that vision piece, and that's kind of where my dyslexia really kind of set me apart, in kind of having the ability to see where we were going, but just enabling the people around us to go and execute on that. And I guess more recently, and it was funny enough, it was pointed out by one of my business partners who is a developer, and he's got heavy ADHD. He said to me, probably about 12 months ago, he said, hey, look, you know, have you ever had yourself tested for ADHD? And I was like, never really thought about it. Why is that? And he goes, you've definitely got it.
How did he know that? What was he thinking?
I think he was looking at kind of my behaviour in meetings. So he's got heavy ADHD as well, right? So I guess the easiest way to explain it is I will try and avoid things unless I'm kind of told I have to do it. Like today, you know, I emailed you yesterday, hey Mark, are we still on for today? And in my head, I'm hoping you ring back and go, not that interested, don't want to do it, someone else has come up, I'm off. I'd have been like, great, I'm going to carry on. But actually that you're saying, no, I'm here, I want to do it, that kind of forces me to turn up here and do something I'm not overly comfortable with. You know, and over my career at Softcat, and you know, in what I do now, I've had to learn coping mechanisms. You know, I don't find this a comfortable thing for me to be doing. I would happily not be here. I would happily be sat in my office at the end of my garden on my own with my own thoughts, getting on with my job. But all the way through my career, like I said, my stock answer has been yes. I just have to think about how I'm going to cope and develop it. And Graham, my business partner, noticed that in me very early. And I kind of live in some relative assumption that I've got myself to today. I have some relative success in my career that I can shout about. But I've done it by masking a lot of my internal monologue, my internal fears, my internal self-doubt to go and project something externally that I think people want to hear or see.